charm. I hold you close in the night in my arms. And when we open our eyes, my worries fade away. 'Cause you gave me your heart in the light of day, the light of day.
Everyone in high school doubted me. Woke up to a text, said they proud of me. Everyone in high school doubted me. Woke up to a track, now they proud of me. Everyone in high school doubted me. Woke up to a text, said they proud of me. Woke up to a text, said they proud of me. Said they proud of me. Should've never ever doubted me. Now I'm living drop top fantasies. Destined for this life, yeah, it's meant to be. Got you feeling stuck in that rut life. Now you're trying to be my friend. It's always fake love in the end. I don't wanna be your friend. Everyone in high school doubted me. Woke up to a text, said they proud of me. Everyone in high school doubted me. Woke up to a track, now they proud of me. Everyone in high school doubted me. Woke up to a text, say they proud of me. Woke up to a text, say they proud of me. Say they proud of me.
To the prom night in high school, I might get it. I can't leave till I just finish. You're too drunk to drive me home, so let's stay up and let's not go. I said, shawty, break it down for me if I have to. And I'll be stuck with an F cause my paper passed due. And I remember when we met inside that first classroom. We would cheat, we would ditch, we would kiss after school. High school, I might get it. I can't leave till I just finish. I'm too drunk to drive you home, so let's stay out and let's not go.
Everyone in high school doubted me. Woke up to a text, said they proud of me. Everyone in high school doubted me. Woke up to a track, now they proud of me. Everyone in high school doubted me. Woke up to a text, say they proud of me. Woke up to a text, say they proud of me. Say they proud of me. You're gonna break my heart. You're gonna tear it apart. No matter what you do, I'll still be there for you. I'm the storm that meets the moon. I'm the sun that will not move. Who you think you are? Who you think you
Welcome everybody to another episode of RSCast with 2/3 of the original crew here. It's 10th forever. It is myself, joined by the still 4-time Phil of the Week winner. And a new person, it's not Pegasus, it's Kieran. So I'll let Kingsman slowly get back in his chair. Kieran, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Tavish. I hope you guys are doing well. You know, I got roasted a couple times just before we came up here, but you know, I'm here. I'm still having a good time, just like you were down in last place.
Alright, well, Kingsman, how are you doing?
Good as normal. I'm still 4 times better than we were. The season's over, so I can't get any more, sadly. Not racking them up. But yeah, no, I'm good. We've got a few more. We've got one more extra tier to recap. Obviously, Prospect Playoffs has now finished. Rival Playoffs has finished. And Elite Playoffs have finished. With the final 2 tiers coming up, we'll be able to have a look through and see how wrong we really were, Tavish.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were really wrong, but obviously, like you mentioned, Prospect finally finished. It took a little while because of something called a M&M Fortnite event, but we finally have the final 3 results that popped in. And if you're wondering, 3, we had a bracket reset. We had the lower final that finished between Apparel and Obscurity. It was already a 2-1 lead for Obscurity, and they managed off-stream to take that final win as well. And then they continued into that grand final, where it was first a 4-1 victory for Obscurity, and then the other way around, a 4-1 victory for Alter, who eventually became those champions. Kingsman, Kieran, Kingsman, whoever want to go first. Any thoughts on this? Did you expect Alter to win or Obscurity to force that bracket reset?
Kingsman, I'll let you take over, mate.
Okay, yeah, sure. Obviously, Obscurity Propel, that was a 1-game decider, 2-1 going into it, and Obscurity able to hold that out. I feel a little unfortunate for Propel. They did technically win that game 3, so looking back, could have gone either way. But yeah, after that 4-1, I really thought Obscurity had it in the bag. I really thought they could pull this and turn this around. But no, Alter, obviously they've had coaching from Keza, so massive shout out to him. He's done really well with Alter. He's obviously turned that around brilliantly. A double 4-1, but Alter will end up walking away. So I think definitely against the run of how I expected it to go.
And yeah. Sorry. But my voice, you know. Yeah, I too felt bad for Propel. Obviously, 2 of my mates in Euro had Stormy on that side there. They looked like they had the momentum to be able to go into the reverse sweep. They got really unlucky. They could have swept that series, but just a couple of chokes in games 1 or 2, and then the server reset really caused them a couple of problems. Unfortunately, they fell short of that final hurdle before the grand finals. But yeah, really well played from Alter there in that final series. Obviously, Keza, some brilliant coaching, obviously to help them turn that around and just give Obscurity the same scoreline. They'd just beaten them with. And Obscurity didn't really have the excuse of being tired either. You know, they'd only just won 1 game beforehand. So yeah, well done to Alter.
Yeah, and I casted the grand final together with Smokey Bear, and Obscurity popping off in that first series was insane. And then obviously we all thought Obscurity was gonna win another one, but Alter to bounce back. Huge congratulations, everyone on that roster. First time winning the tier, first time winning a trophy. So there we have the Prospect recap. Now let's move on to well, I want to say the next tier, but we're just gonna skip one. We're going up to the rival tier, because that's the one we haven't talked about yet. We made our predictions a while back, and now let's take a look at the play-ins before we continue to the playoffs. And Karen, you're new here, so I'm gonna ask you first. Any results here on these first matchups that you think that really surprised me?
Honestly, I didn't watch a whole lot of Rival, but I think Ash going through the way they did sort of surprised me. They did very, very well to be able to get through both Caligo and Meiji going 6-0 through the play-ins. So really good run from them to be able to make it onto that championship Saturday. So yeah, congrats to them on that brilliant day.
Kingsman, any matchups that you found interesting here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Nightfall Mystics, because I think at least 2 or 3 of us on the desk predicted that 2 or 3 of us predicted that Nightfall would go through. So yeah, it was a big result for Mystics. Obviously, Nightfall having Mr. Efficiency and Rev and Mithril, I have a very strong team on paper, but Mystics were able to come out stronger than that. So yeah, it was a good result for them to go through one.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Karen. The Ash going 6-0 is a huge result for them. Kingsman as well, the Nightfall, but also Knights going that dominantly over Erebos to continue. Erebos being on a run there, and then Knights just saying like, yeah, well, you won 3 games, now you're gonna win nothing else. So them being dominant and continuing on the run that Knights eventually did is huge to think about, as you'll see on the screen. So, Kingsman, as I'm saying correctly, hopefully, the GM for that franchise, what is the most interesting matchup here on your screen?
Well, I think you all know what I'm going to say. Just Knights in general. They went from the play-ins, 4th place, all the way to the grand finals. Hell of a series all the day long. I was sat with them from 5 till the end, when obviously I was casting the grand finals. But it was a hell of a run from them. They were so confident, so calm. They made it look just like it was a natural day at the office. But yeah, some of the games were really close, tight defenses as well. And I'd say out of all the series, I'd say the Knights, if we exclude the grand final, obviously, I think Knights Journeyman was a hell of a series. That could have gone either way, but thankfully for me, Knights took it in Game 5.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. The Knights surprised everyone with that massive run. So now, Kieran, any matchups besides the Knights matchup that you're like, we didn't expect that result?
Well, considering there's literally 5 matchups out of most of them that Knights did not participate in. Yeah, we'll avoid Kingsman for a little bit, but looking at the scorelines, Journeyman and Mystics was a very entertaining series to watch. You know, back and forth, went all the way 3-2, but in the end, Journeyman able to come out on top before falling short to Onka, the eventual champions, and then right after that to the Knights, who were on their massive run. But yeah, 3-2, a close series between them, and as well as Knights versus Hydras. But we've said enough about them, so I'll leave it there.
Yeah, obviously, one thing we cannot stop talking about is Knights here in this run, because it's not that often that we'll see an entire lower bracket run all the way into the grand finals. And as you can see there, it's Game 7 in that first one to force the bracket reset. Yeah, then Onka kind of bounced back with a lot of momentum in their favor. Had that 4-0 sweep over Knights, so eventually becoming the tier champions. But just in general, the upper bracket, to me, Journeyman winning in Game 5, Onka just being dominant there. Overall, just going 3-0 to make it to that grand finals. And then losing in that Game 7, but then sweeping the entire next one is just a huge result. And here you have the rival champions with Cincy, Ollie, Avi, and Mox becoming the players who pulled it off, with Big Chaps and Spacey as that management team of the franchise. So congratulations, Onka. Congratulations, Panthera Esports, for making it. Kieran, any final thoughts here on Rival?
Not much else to say. Obviously, Onka in that final series, a huge 4-0, able to bounce back. It could maybe just be Knights becoming absolutely shattered at the end of the day. But, they performed very, very well in that last series, pulling off the 4-0. And then, like I said, Sin, Mox, AV, and Ollie. Mox finally getting a title to his name. But other than that, there's not much else to say. Well done to Onka.
Kingsman, you any final thoughts before we head into the Elite recap?
Finally, Sinksy can stop sandbagging and go to Elite now.
Well, there you have it. Sinksy, hope to see you there next season. So let's move to that tier. Let's move to Elite. Let's see what happens there. Because we had Championship Saturday for Rival, but we had Championship Sunday for the Elite tier. But before we went there, we had a couple big results as well. And, I'm just going to quickly pop off this one here. The biggest result for me was Anju, actually. In that first series, Game 5, they won the first two. Thanatos bouncing back, and then Anju eventually closing it out. Huge result, and actually, after that, Tigris was just a little bit too strong. But a banger of a first series here in the Elite tier. So... Kingsman, what matchup pulled your eye here in the play-ins?
I think it was more Scorch, to be honest. After going to Game 5 from Carbo, I think they looked a bit nervy, and I didn't think they'd get past Rooks with such ease like they did. They genuinely made it look so nice and so smooth, and they made their way to the play-ins. A nice 3-2 and then a 3-1 to secure their final spot. So... I think it was a huge result for them.
Yeah, Scorch also having a beautiful run. Almost doing the same thing as Anju, but they managed to win the two series. Karen, any matchup that you found interesting?
Oh yeah, before I point out my matchup, I'd like to say one thing. Thank you, DS Squads, for participating, but hopefully next season we can pull past the first round of play-ins. Anyway, but my match that I loved to watch was Drake's versus Caspian. Drake's obviously with an amazing run throughout the whole tournament. This was the only game that they dropped before the grand final. Other than that, it was all sweeps. But they dropped the first game versus Caspian, but then came back, won 3 in a row, and they did very, very well. A lot of people were expecting a sweep. Maybe it was just a slow start for Drake's, but one brilliant performance from them, not just in match, but the whole tournament.
Yeah, like you said, like you perfectly described it, Series Caspian taking the first one, and then Drake's finally warming up to take the rest. And then we move on to the playoffs, as we'll probably see a couple big results as well. While it's loading, Karen, I'm sticking with you here. Let's talk about the beautiful run from Drake's.
Well, there you go. We see it. Drake's 3-0 versus Bladesmiths, 3-0 versus Vanguards. It was all too easy for them. Then they faced Darkness. They got bracket reset 4-2, maybe caught a little bit off guard. They had a 2-1 lead. Darkness tied it up, put 3-2 ahead. Then Drake's had the opportunity to put us into Game 7, but unfortunately fell short on Neo Tokyo, and Darkness were able to force the bracket reset 4-2, but then we went all the way, an exciting game, 4-3, went all the way to Game 7, where Drake just came out on top. Maybe the fatigue for Darkness, or maybe just giving up right at the final hurdle. They went 4-3, and that was one brilliant run from them throughout the whole tournament. Cal going on the double, winning both ERS and RSC, the king of ERSC. But Drake's are your elite champions.
Yeah, so Kingsman, any matchups that you want to talk about?
Now, as someone who actually watched the Elite Grand Final, I'll talk to you a bit more in context about that. But can we just talk about Darkness? Someone I've always scolded for his awful mental is Wolfie. Got swept in the first series, and I looked at that and I thought, yeah, Darkness are gone. We won't see him again. But no, they ended up taking it to 5 with Tigris, sweeping Bladesmiths then, to much as Rapid's disappointment, then getting revenge on Vanguards in Game 5, and then going all the way to bracket reset them to being 3-2 down. I think it was 3-2. Yeah, it's 3-2 down going into Game 6. I believe it was an overtime Game 6 that they come out on top of after taking a timeout. And in Game 7, it looked so good for them. Bear in mind that they had prevented 2 reverse sweeps going into this point. And yeah, Game 7, Drake's just had that little bit of extra in the tank. Darkness gave it their all, but at the end of the line, just Drake's had that extra bit of momentum.
Yeah, perfect description there of the grand finals. And just one thing, in Rival we didn't have it, but in Elite we had the top 4 from the upper bracket who made there also were the top 4 in the end of the tier. And then you have your Elite champions and RMD with Conflict and Skate as the franchise management team. So, Kieran, any final thoughts for Elite?
Well, the only thing I'd like to point out, obviously, Doherty from Challenger in RSC 12 to RSC 13, an Elite champion. He's done very, very well. Pig was constantly going on about it in the grand final yesterday because, yes, Kingsman, I did watch the final. Solo queue was on as well. But other than that, Cal now at the double in both leagues. But well done to them. Well done to Conflict and Size, it says, as the AGM. But yeah, brilliant performance from Drake's throughout the whole playoffs to take home the crown.
All right, Kingsman, any additions before we move to the predictions?
I got 2 things. I'm happy Wolfie didn't win. And second thing, congrats to Alpha Surge for winning their first season for winning the Elite tier. Brilliant intro season from them, and to get a tier win on top of that, just a cherry on top.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's their first season here, and they managed to win one of the higher tiers as well. And with that, we finished the first 4 tiers of RSC 13. We're almost at the end. So now, let's talk about our predictions. Because obviously, I'm not going to say we have good predictions, but I'm going to say we have predictions. And Karen, you kind of made predictions. You can talk about Pig's predictions. So, take it. Go ahead.
Yeah, they didn't let me cook, boys. So here's Sir Pegasus' prediction. Starting off in the play-ins, he has Wyverns beating Iovi 3-2. He sees it go to Game 5, and then he sees them go to another Game 5 against Gladiators, but falling short of this hurdle. So he has Gladiators going through to the playoffs, and then on the other side of the lower bracket, he has his own org, Nara, beating Messiahs 3-1 and Illusion 3-2. Maybe a little bit of bias going through for Sir Pegasus, but something you need to have. He sees them going through to the playoffs. And then in terms of the upper bracket, he has Vulcan absolutely sweeping Hades and going through the upper bracket, as well as Haven 3-0ing Infinity. So that's his predictions for the play-ins in the Master Tier. And then we move on to the playoffs. So there they are on your screen now. Going back to the lower bracket, Gladiators will continue their run according to Sir Pegasus 3-0 versus Hades, who had just dropped down. And then on the other side, he has Infinity 3-0ing Nara, so both sweeps in the lower round 1. And then in terms of the lower quarters, he has Haven going... Oh, sorry, I should probably go to the upper bracket, shouldn't I? Transcend, he thinks, will take down Vulcan 3-2 on Champions Field, while Montezuma will 3-1 Haven to knock them down into the lower bracket. And then speaking of Haven, he thinks they will bounce back and beat the Gladiators 3-2. Gladiators would be on a lower bracket run. It will be cut short by Haven. Infinity will take down Vulcan 3-1. So Vulcan will get double rounded on the playoffs. We hope not to see that, but we'll see how that'll go on Sunday. And then he has Haven continuing their lower bracket run, taking out Infinity in the lower semi, while Montezuma 3-0 Transcend up to the upper final. And then he sees Haven beating the recently knocked Transcend 3-2. So loving 3-2s are Haven, apparently. And then he sees them going into the grand final, getting the bracket reset and the final series, winning 4-2. And so according to Sir Pegasus, Haven will be your Master Champions.
Damn, okay. Pegasus going for the Haven hype train here in the Master tier. So let's move on. Let's talk about my prediction. I'm not going to say they're better, but we're going to try no matter what. Starting in the lower bracket of play-ins. I think IOV will go 3-1 over Wyverns, but then they will meet Gladiators, will be going out in game number 5. I think IOV is just better than Wyverns there, but Gladiators, it's a close matchup. I want to say coin toss scenario for in that second round, but I think Gladiators will take it pretty confidently in that game number 5. Nara will have a pretty easy run on the other side. They will go 3-0 over Messiahs, 3-1 over Illusion. Can give a game to Messiahs, can maybe give an additional game to Illusion, but I think Nara is just too strong there. The upper bracket, Hades. There are some rumors that they don't have the full roster on the first day of play-ins, so it could be that Vulcan will surprise them, but I think Hades will still have a lot of momentum, will just still be a strong roster. No matter what, they'll pull it through in a 3-1. Infinity Haven. This one I could see as a coin toss scenario in that game 5. But I think in the end, Infinity will be just a little bit too strong and will take it in that game 5. And there will be Hades Infinity continuing in the upper bracket. Vulcan, Haven, Gladiators, Nara continuing in that lower bracket of playoffs on Championship Saturday. And then continuing in that lower bracket, Vulcan will go up against Gladiators. I think Vulcan will have a little bit momentum in their favor. Gonna take a 3-1 victory there. Nara will face off against Haven. Haven not too happy that they lost in that game 5 the last time. So they're gonna take it out on Nara, take a 3-1 victory. Then in the upper bracket, Transcend, the number 1 seed, will face off against Hades, will make it pretty dominantly, probably lose game 1. Thinking they have to warm up and then win 3 in a row and continue to that upper final. Infinity will take on Montezuma, will take a 3-1 victory there. I think Infinity is just a stronger roster. Even though they're lower in standings, I think in playoffs, it will be a different scenario. Then you have Transcend and Infinity facing off in that upper final. Easy sweep for Transcend there to make it through to the grand. Then you would have Vulcan taking on Montezuma in a game 5. I don't see this going any other way. I think this going to full distance, but Vulcan will just be too strong out of the two. Haven will beat down Hades. I think Hades will have a pretty tough run against first losing to Transcend, and then Haven will also just be too strong for them. And after that, I think there are going to be a lot of close matchups. Vulcan taking a 3-2 victory over Haven. Vulcan taking a 3-2 victory over Infinity, but then the grand finals, Transcend will just be too strong for them. And we'll take it in 4-2. So that's my prediction here for the Master Tier. Kingsman, let's see if you can have a solid prediction or somewhat worse.
As a Master player, you would hope I would know the most about this tier. No, I would be wrong. Yes, see, Tavish knows I don't know anything about Master. See, man of culture right there, ladies and gentlemen. But let's go off and start up the other bracket. Vulcan 3, Hades 2. I think that game was very close. Regardless of Hades not having their main roster, obviously Vulcan put together a roster last minute. But still, I think Cubby's got enough to cook in the tank that he's able to take it in 5. And Haven take Infinity in game 5. This was as much as I think Tavish called this one a coin flip as well. It's very much which team comes out on the day. Both sides can win that matchup, but I think Haven will just edge it on the day. Anyway, down to lowers. I have IOV beating Wyverns 3-1. I just rate the IOV roster a bit higher, I'll be honest. Cans, Halo, and Marvels. Marvels is ridiculously low CMV for his value. He brings a hell of an impact, but I don't see them being able to get past Gladiators. This might be me coping for D-Lynch, but I think Jepsy, Depsy, Brun, and D-Lynch, regardless if it's Edgy or D-Lynch, will just be able to edge out IOV in the end. And Serene Nara, I have as a bit of an underdog here. 3-0ing Messiahs here. The Messiahs team, I'd say, isn't the best, but I think the Team Serene team is a very good team. And if they bring their main roster and on their form, they could 6-0. Same with Illusion. They were first for half of the season, had a massive drop-off, and ended up in 4th place. And I don't think they've found their form back since the start of the season. Now, on to my playoff predictions. I have Transcend beating Vulcan 3-1. If I'm not wrong, it's Charm and Ember on that Transcend roster. They have one hell of a chemistry going back many RSC seasons. I think that'll be enough to take Vulcan in the first game. I think Haven will just beat out Montezuma. I think Montezuma being that first place team, I don't know if they're scrimming that much, and I think Haven will have that edge. Obviously, Pesky being good for his CMV as well, and Jax being very good for his CMV. I reckon those two will be an edging factor compared to Entsi and Demise. And lower bracket, as much as I love coping for D-Lynch, I do not cope for him anymore. Hades, I think, will have their main roster, and they will come out as a 3-1 victors. And I think Nara will get a Game 5 win over Infinity. I think they will just be stronger on the day. Same against Vulcan. 3-2, I think Cubby won't be happy with going down to the lower bracket, and he will do the exact same as his bromance partner, Rapids, and will go out at the first hurdle. But Montezuma, Hades have 3-1. Hades were draw merchants all season long, but I don't see this going to Game 5. Montezuma, I know, are able to get results when we need it. So I think a Game 4 there, but I think Nara's run comes to an end. Montezuma just too strong as they get a 3-0 sweep. I don't think Nara will get a game. I think it'll be a very close series, but I don't think they'll get a game. And in the upper final, I've Haven Transcend go into Game 5. Again, I think it's going to be a moment for Ren and Jax and Pesky to make it through the uppers, just getting ahead of Charm and Ember. We've seen them choke games in playoffs before. This is definitely getting clipped and sent to them, so hello. But I don't think they'll have the momentum. I think it'll be a Game 5 loss there. And then I see Transcend bouncing back, though, to beat Montezuma. 3-2, a coin toss, I'd say. Either one of them could go to the finals and do the same thing. But in the grand finals, see whichever team comes from lower bracket, which I have as Transcend, beating Haven 4-2. I think Pesky will be far too confident, and so will Jax, and they'll lose it. But I think they'll do the exact same as Onka did. And once they get their head back in the game, they will bounce back, and I think they sweep Transcend 4-0 in the grand finals to have Haven as your master champions.
Wow. Okay, so first you believe that it's going to be...
Okay. Who's talking?
First, you're going to believe it's going to be a very close Game 5 in the play-ins day, and then you're just like, Haven's going to close it out. Well, let's talk about Ark's prediction. Sadly, he's not here, so I'll quickly recap it for you. I'll start in the upper bracket this time. He thinks Vulcan will take a 3-1 victory over Hades. Obviously, the rumors with Hades using an elite player might have some impact there. He thinks Infinity Haven is also going to be a Game 5. He gives it in favor of Infinity. Then into the lower bracket, Wyverns will beat IOV 3-1. Then they'll face off against Gladiators. They will lose in a game number 5. Nara against Messiahs. He thinks Messiahs will have a better fight than the rest of us predicted. So it's going to be a Game 5, but Nara will edge that one out. And then Nara will face off Illusion also in a game number 5. Then he would have Vulcan and Infinity continuing in the upper bracket. Hades, Haven, Gladiators, and Nara continuing in the lower bracket of playoffs. So already a couple other results than the rest of us. And then if we continue to those playoffs, loading in the upper bracket. A lot of Game 5s here. Transcend going in a Game 5 over Vulcan. Montezuma in a Game 5 over Infinity. And then the upper final will also be a Game 5 in favor of Montezuma, who will take it 3-2 over Transcend. Then into the lower bracket, Hades will take a 3-1 victory over Gladiators, who will then face off against Infinity. But Infinity will go 3-1 there and continue to the lower semis. Nara will take on Haven, a 3-1 victory for Nara there. Then Nara, having that little bit of momentum, will face off against Vulcan. But Vulcan will be a little bit too strong bouncing back after that Game 5 loss. And take a 3-1 victory here over Nara. Then Infinity and Vulcan in that lower semi will go in the favor of Vulcan in 4 games. Vulcan taking on Transcend, so a little bit of a rematch from that upper semi will now repeat in the lower final. And it will be a 3-1 victory in favor of Vulcan. And then we have a bracket reset. according to Ark, with a 4-2 victory. Well, 2 times for Vulcan, and then they will become your Master Champion. So there we have all our predictions. And we have, well, the 4 of us predict 3 different champions. We have Pegasus and Kingsman both predicting Haven to win. I think Transcend is going to win. And Ark thinks that Vulcan is going to win. So a lot of diversity already on the cast. With the previous 4 tiers, we all kind of thought the same was going to happen. So now let's move to Premier. The highest tier we have. The best players according to some. Kieran, I'm going to give it to you for Pegasus prediction.
Alright, so let's see what delusions Pegasus has in store. So starting in the lower bracket once again. Well, Kingsman, you'll be happy about the first round, but not much more. He sees Councillor Sir taking down the Leviathans 3-1, and then Solus taking out Sentient Esports 3-2. But then Team Hosky will wipe out your team, apparently Kingsman 3-0, and then Ophiusa will take out Solus. So both the teams making it through the first round will not make it any further. Then in the upper bracket, he sees Team Serene beating Illusory 3-1, and Visionary beating Shaman Esports 3-2. So going through would be Serene and Visionary through the upper bracket, while Hosky, Fuchsia, Shaman, and Illusory go through the lower bracket. And then on Championship Sunday, we will see Esportberg take on Team Serene in the upper bracket and will beat them 3-2, while Visionary continue their run, taking out Oblivion 3-1, and then in lower round 1, Team Hosky will also continue their run, beating Illusory, who recently relegated from the upper brackets, while Shaman will take out Ophiusa 3-2. Team Hosky will once again continue their run, beating Oblivion, sweeping them out of the competition, while Team Serene take out Shaman Esports 3-1. Then in the lower semi, Hosky will once again keep going, taking out his own team, Team Serene 3-1, while in the upper final, facing Team Hosky, Esportberg will take out Visionary. And then finally, Hosky, Pegasus thinks, will fall in the lower final in Game 5, 3-2. And Visionary move on to the grand final to face Esportberg, where they will win 4-3, followed by a 4-1 to become your Premier champions.
Alright, there we have the first prediction for Premier. Now let's move on to my prediction for Master. I want to say something is wrong, but okay. So, the colors are wrong, the team names are right. Leviathans will go 3-1 over Council of Sir, and then they will face off against Team Hosky. Team Hosky will take a 3-1 victory there. Obviously, the two-time champions, if I'm correct, could be 3-time. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Will take a pretty easy victory there. Then Sentient will go in Game 5 over Solace, and then will go in a 3-1 victory over Ophiusa, and continue. Then the upper bracket, Team Serene will sweep Illusory, and Visionary Shaman, I think that one will go to game number 5, and it will be Team Serene and Shaman continuing in the upper, and Illusory, Visionary, Team Hosky, and Sentient, will continue in the lower bracket. And then there we have the playoff bracket in that beautiful purple. Starting in the upper bracket, I think Esportberg will take a... I won't say easy victory, but it will come down to the edge in Game 5 over Team Serene. And Oblivion will take a 3-1 victory over Shaman Esport. And then that upper final will be Esportberg and Oblivion facing off against each other. I think, again, that will go to a Game 5. But this, in this case, in favor of Oblivion. I could see that as a little bit of a coin toss that Esportberg might be able to take that one. Kind of depends on how Esportberg recover from that Game 5 against Team Serene. If it's a long series, then I think Oblivion will have the upper hand in that matchup. Then the lower bracket, Team Hosky will take a 3-1 victory over Illusory. And then Team Hosky will take a pretty confident sweep over Shaman Esports, the team that just lost to Oblivion in that upper bracket. Visionary will take a 3-1 victory over Sentient Esports. And then we'll take... Team Serene will take a 3-1 victory over Visionary. So, yeah, they lost in that game 5 against Esports Berg, but they were able to bounce back against Visionary. Then Team Hosky, Team Serene in that lower semi. I think here the run will end for the previous champions. And they will fall to the Team Serene roster. Team Serene will meet Esports Berg. Esports Berg wanting to have that revenge run against Oblivion. And will have a game 5 against Team Serene, winning it there. And then in that in that grand final, Oblivion taking on Esports Berg. I think it's going to be a nail-biter all the way to 7, but I think Oblivion will be able to take it in 1. That's my prediction. Oblivion will be the Prem champions. Kingsman, let's talk about yours.
Oh yeah, with the Prem team that made playoffs, I had absolutely full faith. I sat and decided today to choose violence. Lower bracket, I see Leviathans going 3-2, going down to Council of Sir, and I see them then beating Hosky in probably what would be the upset of the season. I think coming in with that momentum, I don't think Hosky would scrim at all. And I think Council of Sir being warmed up would be able to take that 3-1. And I think Solace would edge it over Team Sentient Esports. Just because there's a few things in play there. And I think Solace again will have the momentum. So I see both 5th or 6th place teams going through into the lower bracket. And then the upper bracket, Visionary Shaman, this was a coin toss. But I'm going to favour in Ols Nation Marmone over Shaman here in Game 5, and Team Serene Illusory. I just see Team Serene sweeping. I don't see any other alternative. Team Serene are so strong, so I'm going to see them going through in a 3-0. Right, moving on to the playoffs. You see my copium will increase. As we head on to the upper bracket, Esports Berg, Team Serene, I think this will be the match of the playoffs. And I think Esports Berg will take it in 4. I think it'll be a hell of a game, but Esports Berg will just have the edge. And Oblivion Visionary, Game 5, I think it will be Oblivion that take it. I think Reiko, Reese Fox, and Flaco will just be stronger on the day, and they'll have that experience behind them. And then in the lower bracket, I've Council of Sir sweeping. The copium continues. The 3 times surely for PG Boy Monkey Mode is on the way. I think they'll beat Nico, Safix, and Kietsu in a 3-0 sweep. When I see Shaman, Solace, that was a Game 5. It was Dance Goose team, or we were looking at Pablo Bar's team. I think Pablo Bar's lads will edge it. I think it might be my favourite team. I know them a bit better, but that's how I see it going. And I see them getting knocked out. And then I see Council of Sir going to 5 with Ols. They beat them in League Play of Hunter Sam, and I believe they can beat them even with their main roster, but it'll be a Game 5 down to the wire. And Team Serene, I think, will just be too strong for Shaman. And then I see Team Serene sadly knocking out Council of Sir. I think they will just be a bit too strong. My copium has to end some point. I do want a chance of winning the RSCast playoff predictions. No, I'm kidding. But I think they will be close, but they won't be close enough. They'll get the first game, and then Team Serene will stomp, I think. And then Oblivion, Esports Berg, I think that'll be the closest game ever. But I don't think it'll be as close as Team Serene game. And I think Oblivion will take it in 5. And then Esports Berg will come down to the lower bracket and get taken out by Team Serene in a revenge matchup. And then Team Serene will go to Game 7 with Oblivion and take the first series. And then Game 5 to pull off a successful bracket reset.
Alright, there we have Kingsman's predictions. So, okay, let's move on to Ark's predictions. Let's go to the final set of predictions here. And we'll start in lower bracket this time. He thinks Leviathans will go 3-1 over Council of Sir. Sorry, Kingsman. And then 3-1 victory for Team Hosky over Leviathan. So Team Hosky will continue there. Then Sentient will take a 3-1 victory over Solace, and then they'll face off against Ophiusa. and they will win that in game number 5. So that is Hosky and Sentient through in the lowers. Then in the upper bracket, Team Serene will take a 3-1 victory over Illusory, and Shaman will win in game 5 over Visionary. So that's Team Serene and Shaman Esports continuing in that upper bracket, with Illusory, Visionary, Team Hosky, and Sentient Esports continuing in that lower bracket of playoffs. And then continuing to what Ark predicts in the playoff on Championship Sunday. He thinks Team Serene will take a 3-1 victory over Esport Berg, moving into that upper final. Oblivion taking a 3-1 victory over Shaman Esports and moving to that upper final. Then Team Serene taking on Oblivion will be a 3-1 victory for Team Serene. Then the lower bracket is going to be Hosky in a pretty dominant run, as I can see so far. 3-0 victory over Illusory, and then a quick 3-1 over Shaman as well, moving to that lower semis. Then Visionary will have a tough run against Sentient Esport, but will manage to win it in 5. Then will face off against Esport Berg, and then will lose in game number 5. Then again, Team Hosky will continue their pretty dominant run. 3-1 victory over Esport Berg, and then they'll face off against Oblivion. And Ark thinks Team Hosky is unstoppable at that point. 3-2 victory over Oblivion. So in that game number 5, Team Hosky will secure that grand final. And then they will force a bracket reset. A 4-2 victory for Team Hosky over Serene. And then during that bracket reset, it will go the other way around. And Team Serene will take a 4-2 victory there over Team Hosky and becoming the new Premier Champions. So there we have all our predictions. What everyone of us thinks. Sadly, Pegasus will not here to fully defend his own predictions, and Kingsman is already losing interest here. But but there we have the final 2 sets of predictions of the Master and the Premier tier. So before we're gonna close off here, any final thoughts? And I'm gonna give it to our not Pegasus first, Karen. Any final thoughts before we say goodnight?
I'm just looking forward to these series. I've already cast a couple of them. I'm looking forward to spending some time on the stream with whoever I cast with and with the chat. So some very entertaining matchups that I'm very much looking forward to in the first round and upcoming. Kingsman is absolutely praying for something, hoping that someone he doesn't like probably doesn't want to win anything. But I'll pass it on to Kingsman. Thank you guys. Shout out to Serenity. Love you.
Cringe. Shoutouts were old about 100 years ago. Oh, newbies. What happens when Pegasus isn't here? I'm missing him already. Anyway, the final week. Then the yearly schedule for ERSC will continue. So this is the last chance for these 2 tiers to prove their stake in RSC and get their claim as the most recent champion. I believe we've had 4 different franchises winning. Will we see it as 6 by the end of the season? Or will a franchise do what Stingray's Green Phoenix could do last season and take 2-tier wins? Make sure to stay tuned because they will all be streamed every single game at points this week. So look out for those streams if you're interested in any of the matches.
Yeah, beautifully said, guys. I'm just going to wrap it up real quick. Obviously, massive thank you to everyone already for supporting RSC during the first 4 tiers. And now we're moving to the final 2 tiers. Hope to see you guys during the streams. We'll be there with all the action for the Master and the Premier tier. Obviously, massive shout out to the sponsors, Team Hosky, Team Serene, Apparel, and Badass for making everything possible. Make sure to follow us on all the socials at RSC_AU. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you somewhere this week during the conclusion of RSC 13. But for now, have a good night.
niggas on my dick. They say you hate me, but they pumping on my shit. Gotta get a bag, being broke don't make no sense. Yeah, I got them nuts, that's why I won't be a lip. Yeah, headshot on my rockstar shit. Whoa,